I published a video several weeks ago that Nikki Haley was toast. I will not receive a prize for that forecast, which was an obvious one. I did vote for her in the Tennessee Republican primary, knowing that the other candidate, who I view as a ignorant, demagogic psychopath, would win the state by somewhere close to 80%. Sean Hannity, in a rare moment of clarity, acknowledged that Trump is, quote, bat, S-H-I-T, crazy, end quote. He will do whatever it takes as a Fox anchor, nonetheless, to help Trump win in November. There can be no doubt now that Donald Trump is the Republican Party, as proven by events. No one had a chance to beat him in the Republican primaries, and that is not a subject that can be questioned or debated anymore. The Republican candidate for governor in North Carolina, Mark Robinson, received 66% of the primary vote for that position. Robinson is a Holocaust denier and received over 700,000 votes in that primary. We now understand, unfortunately, more about the 700,000 plus Republican voters in North Carolina who had to know by now everything about Robinson, having earlier elected him as a lieutenant governor in 2020 and now as their nominee for governor in 2024. Including his long history of thoroughly disgusting and deliberately incendiary remarks, and voted for him nonetheless. That says a great deal about those who voted for him, and nothing about Robinson, who is a known quantity already. The British newspaper The Guardian published an article titled, quote, Hitler quoting candidate wins North Carolina Republican gubernatorial primary, end quote. I'm not going to go over again Robinson's prior remarks, having discussed them in a recent video that I will link in the More column below. His history, known to the Republicans who voted for him, can be found in the Wikipedia article about Mr. Robinson and countless news articles available online. Recent polling from, and I'm probably going to mispronounce this, Quinnipiac University, found that about half of the Republicans and Republican-leaning voters who supported Haley in the primaries would vote for Trump, while 37% would vote for Biden. 12% said they would abstain, vote for someone else, or hadn't decided what to do yet. That would be close to my estimate of what the Haley voters will do in the general election. The range for Biden may be as low as 25%. There would likely be some drift toward Biden and against Trump if he is convicted of a felony before the election. Other factors that may benefit Biden among those Haley voters is Trump continuing to make crazy and false comments and making more bizarre and incoherent ramblings that take away Trump's age advantage when Haley voters are paying more attention to the election than they are now. They will also be bombarded with ads pointing out those kind of comments before the election. Both Biden and Trump are too old to be president, in my opinion. In Tennessee, Nikki Haley received about 19.5% of the vote, but averaged about 30% in the major cities. Trump's primary strength in Tennessee was, as it is elsewhere, in rural counties, where Haley received less than 10% in many of them and less than 15% in almost all of them. In my county, which is predominantly inhabited by Republicans, there are a number of traditional Republicans who are college educated, and Trump won my county 70% to 30%. Trump carried Nashville-Davidson County by 61 to 36% in the Republican primary. So a lot of Republicans took the trouble to vote for Haley, knowing that Trump would win the state by about 80% of the vote. Even if a meaningful number of Haley voters stay at home in November or vote for Biden, Trump will still easily carry Tennessee. But that may be enough in one or more of the swing states for Biden to win those states. Trump beat Biden in 2020 60.7% to 37.5% in Tennessee, receiving 1,852,474 votes. My guess now is that Trump will garner about 58% in the November election in my state, and that may fall no lower than 55% if Trump is convicted of a felony before the election and makes 5,000 or so demonstrably false statements between now and the election. Christian evangelical support is unlikely to fall below 80% even if those events occur. In 1952 and 1956, when Dwight Eisenhower was the Republican candidate and Senator Adlai Stevenson of Illinois was the Democrat candidate, Eisenhower barely eked out a victory in Tennessee, winning 49.21% to 48.6% and 49.99% to 49.71% in 1956 and 1952, respectively. Stevenson carried almost all of the rural counties in middle and western Tennessee that Trump will now carry by about 80% or more in the general election in 2024. What happened? The issue was correctly understood by Kevin Phillips in his book, The Emerging Republican Majority, that was originally published in 1969, that discussed what he called the Southern strategy, which still works, in my opinion, in many of the southern states, but not all. I had three majors as an undergraduate and in college, and one was political science. A political science professor who had worked in the Senate as an aide, knowing that I was from the South, asked me whether the thesis advanced by Phillips in his book would work and was correct. I replied that I knew these people, and of course it would work. Phillips was spot on the why and how the South would turn against the Democrats, though that has started to change some in reaction to Trump more than anything, with Democratic senators now holding both Senate seats in Virginia and Georgia. So things may be shifting back slowly, particularly in the urban areas and among college-educated voters and women.